Welcome back to South Korea, and my final vlog for this part of the journey. I started out my day by heading over to the War Memorial of Korea. The very first thing I spotted was this giant memorial, and it was so cool the fact that you could walk into it and they had these awesome displays of art. They also had this map detailing how Korea used to look before and during the war. And then I got so excited because I saw they had so many things on display. I mean, just look at the amount of tanks they have, and they even have this warship. It felt pretty endless, and I was very interested that they had even American missiles here. I also thought this paint was really interesting on the front of this tank. It was also possible to actually go onto the warship. And the dial here even moved. Once I was done looking around inside, I headed back out to look at some of the guns. And I took in one final look before I headed inside. At first, I thought the War Memorial was going to be just about the Korean War, but actually they discuss all of the wars that Korea has ever been involved in history. So they had some really old artifacts like these old guns, as well as this artwork and cannon depicting the fights between Japan and Korea. I was honestly flabbergasted by the scope of this museum. I think this was my favourite medieval weapon. This is a fire arrow launcher. And they also depicted something from Vietnam during the Vietnam War. These are the Chu Chi tunnels, which I plan to go to when I visit Vietnam. Finally, I was outside and I walked back along to Yongsan Haebangchon village. They had so much cool artwork here, as well as amazing fancy indie restaurants and shops. I didn't spend too long there though, as I intended to hike up towards Seoul Tower. And before long, I'd made it to the original castle walls. The area around the tower was actually really busy, and there were so many shops and restaurants too. But I was more interested in the scenery. Originally, I didn't know that Seoul Tower was actually built on a hill, but the view was spectacular, and I could even see Bukhansan Mountain, which I intended to climb tomorrow. As I took one final look at the view, I headed back down. As I was wandering half aimlessly, I came across this really cool, long tunnel. It was kind of empty too. Before long, I ended up stumbling over this crazy long labyrinth. Finally, I made it to the centre, and what I was met with was this grand table. Inscribed along them was words from each country talking about peace, about the Korean War. This was a true hidden gem, hidden just at the foot of Seoul Tower. My next plan was to go to another Hanok village, but this one was so much quieter. The approaching sunset casted beautiful shadows along the buildings. There were 5 total restored Hanoks, which is what the buildings are, and the oldest being from 1392. This village seems to be a lot quieter than the other village that I went to at the start of the week. But yeah, this one's very peaceful. And I really liked that you could actually see inside these buildings. It really did feel like a time capsule, and they even had some games and activities that you could do from back in the time. Eventually, it was time for me to head back out to the city. And I decided I wanted to see the more futuristic part. And so I made my way towards Dongdaemun Design Plaza. This was a culture centre filled with futuristic design, markets, food vendors, and architecture. I came across this really cool flower display. Unfortunately, the main part of the museum was closed, but I still got to see some really cool stuff. It was hustling and bustling here. Funnily enough, I came on May the 4th, Star Wars Day, and they even had a stall here. It was time to wrap up my day and prepare for Bukhansan Mountain. This was the tallest mountain in the region, and I was determined to climb to the top. It's the start of this trail. Feeling pretty good right now. I think it's about 10 in the morning as well, so yeah, 800 meters. We got this. I believe that's the one we're going to. Despite it being cold in the morning, the hike up was intense enough that I started to warm up. Also, it's very hard to see, but there are mountain climbers on the side of this cliff. Finally, I made it to the halfway point. Lunch break time for sure. And after another hours of climbing, I made it to the fortress wall. There used to be a fortress on this mountain, a huge fortress. Helicopter rescue? Yikes. The final climb up was actually crazy. Like it was just a sheer cliff face and little to no barriers. I made it to the top. I'm having a real fear of falling because that's like the edge of the cliff right now. Right, time to go down. This was definitely one of the best hikes I've done on my trip so far. It was a blast. It was time to head back. I really liked the displays they had on at this airport. It seemed really futuristic, but also with a natural setting. Okay, so currently I'm at Incheon Airport, and I figured I'd go to the bakery and I bought some. This is famous bread from Korea. It's 32 layer bread. So we're gonna try it. 32 layers is crazy. It's so crazy, dude. I don't even know how to like take a bite of this. It's also gonna make a mess, I know. Wow. This is the inside of it. Almost tastes exactly like a croissant. Just a cube of croissant. I walked around a little bit more while I was waiting for my flight, and I came across this fuzzy panda. So this marks the end of this leg of the trip. Next up is Vietnam, which I'm going to for a month straight. So subscribe and look forward to that content.